Ever since my original video about Shadow's character, I've slowly found myself liking him more. I replayed Sonic Adventure 2 and Sonic Heroes and I enjoyed him a bunch in both games. I was content with simply liking Shadow, but that was until one of my subs gave me the idea to take a look at Shadow's portrayal in the Archie comics, specifically Sonic Universe. I'll be honest, I've never been a fan of the Archie comics. A brief part of my childhood involved watching a few issues through YouTube and that's about it. Nonetheless, if I ever get the chance to expand on my knowledge of all things Sonic, I'll take the opportunity. So I've read all the Shadow arcs, or arcs involving Shadow in Sonic Universe, and I was both pleasantly surprised by how good they were, but also confused by how good they were. I had to look up who the writing team was even though I already knew who it was. Shadow is far better in these Sonic Universe comics than he is in the IDW comics. What happened here? Were they given a loose leash around this time? I guess mandates updated when the IDW comics started, because I genuinely can't think of a reason why Shadow was so good here and nothing more than a passable character in the IDW comics. These Shadow arcs in Sonic Universe really shine a light on how good of a character Shadow is. I would say he's very much in line with his game counterpart. The only difference is, much like Sonic, Shadow speaks more in the comics. I've been floating this idea around in a few of my videos that Shadow isn't too far off from Sonic as a character in the games. Much like Sonic, Shadow is someone who, while has some layers to him, isn't a complicated guy. Both Hedgehogs have a flair for the dramatic. Both Hedgehogs seem to always know what needs to be done when the situation calls for it, and they're very goal-oriented. They know what they need to do and won't stop or stray until the job is done. If they ever find themselves stuck, they have their allies to rely on, which is where Team Dark comes in for Shadow. Shadow's relationship with Rouge and Omega in the Sonic Universe comics is top-notch. Omega inherits the soul of Gamma before killing him. Shadow was originally meant to get the original Gamma back to Gun and have him become an ally, but Omega gets to Gamma before Shadow does. Due to inheriting Gamma's soul, Omega serves as sort of a wise ally, the one who, while still has an insatiable urge to destroy, can understand that Shadow needs emotional help, as Shadow at this point in the arc has failed 2 of his missions. Their dynamic is unique, for lack of a better term. They both give each other what the other one wants and needs, thus creating a bond where the two eventually come to understand each other. It's given more depth than it is in the games, where Shadow is simply hinted at having a softer heart for his robotic allies. It's not really implied here, it's just straight up a part of his character, and circles back to why I think Sonic and Shadow are perfect examples of being two sides of the same coin. However, before I circle back to that, Shadow's relationship with Rouge is pretty much one-to-one with the games. Two business partners who have a few lighthearted exchanges here and there. These comics give me the sense that Team Dark aren't exactly not friends, if you get me. They come together when the time calls for it, but their unique bonds to each other is what allows them to gel as well as they do. Shadow and Rouge even argue a few times in the comics, and it's not different to them having their own back and forth moments in games like Sonic 06 and Sonic Rivals 2. Nonetheless, she sticks up for him when she feels the need to, and he appreciates her camaraderie. I remember seeing something about how Sonic Team doesn't see Team Dark as teammates or friends anymore, and I genuinely don't understand why. The friends part I'm ultimately okay with, but team? Are we sure about that one, Sonic Team? They've been featured as a group working together in multiple stories for the past 20 years and even in some of the more recent Sonic games by pure coincidence. A lot of the Shadow related stuff that Sega wants is weird, like the whole being more competitive and one-note thing. Shadow's always been competitive with Sonic, and in my opinion, his character is simplistic already, so the need to somehow make him even more one-note is confusing. Just write him the way he is in Forces, he's handled perfectly in that game. Let me circle back around to the great way these comics highlight Sonic and Shadow's similarities. In the first Shadow saga, Shadow tries and fails multiple times to save robots he's pursuing, whether he's trying to help Metal Sonic or saving the original Gamma from being killed. Shadow, much like his game counterpart, has an affinity for machine life, which ties into him being an artificial creation of some kind. Much like Sonic, he becomes very diplomatic when he tries to get these characters to join him or turn against Eggman. He gets in his preachy bag just a little bit, but remains more concise than Sonic does, even if their messages are ultimately the same. He's also very accepting of help in these comics as well. I'm kind of worried about how Shadow might be portrayed in the games going forward, but he's never been one to shy away from receiving aid in the games. His story arc with Blaze was great stuff. It really highlighted Shadow's sense of justice. It goes back to what I said before. Shadow always knows when to do the right thing, and as he felt remorse for battling Blaze's team for the Soul Emeralds, he tightens up and does what needs to be done. I don't have too much to say about the overall stories of the later Shadow comics in Sonic Universe. They're essentially retreads of themes explored in Shadow the Hedgehog and Sonic 06. I love the affirmation that Shadow's a good guy. This whole idea of Shadow being someone who works with whoever benefits him at any given time is just wrong, and hasn't been the case for such a long time now that I'm surprised it's even mentioned as a talking point with his character. There are great bits of Team Dark displaying that special chemistry, but the real meat and potatoes of Shadow's character is found in the first Shadow Saga and Treasure Team Tango. I just really love that Shadow can openly feel things. I don't mind him being a sometimes edgy boy, but I need him to also be able to say thank you when the time comes. I'm gonna form a prayer circle and hope that the writers at Sega don't screw this guy up when he appears in future Sonic titles. Also, let him be funny. The low-key constant I've gathered from reading through these stories is that Shadow can be pretty damn funny if they give the writers the opportunity to showcase that. I really enjoyed my time reading the Shadow arcs in Sonic Universe. It just reinforced my belief that Shadow isn't an asshole, and also made me love him way more than I already did. I specifically love the way the first few arcs that feature him really give us a satisfying dive into his character, allowing him to express a reasonable range of emotions and tie it all together in a well-made package that makes Shadow who he is. I know I'm beating a dead horse when I say this, but I really do hope the game writers don't feel the need to make Shadow a ridiculously one-note character. Keep him simple like Sonic, but don't go overboard is all I'm asking. I don't know what the overwhelming consensus is on Shadow's character in the Archie comics, but at least in Sonic Universe, I think Shadow is one of the best written characters in the Sonic franchise. Shout out to Azure Zakura, who gave me the idea for this video in the first place. Consider my first dive into Archie Sonic comics a success. If you haven't read the Sonic Universe comics, consider doing so. I haven't read them all yet, but if these Shadow arcs are anything to go by, these just might be some great reads. Shout out to y'all for watching this video. Let me know what you think about Archie Shadow in the comments below. Check out the channel for more Sonic goodness. With that, I'm gone. Peace.